Hey everyone, and welcome to the sophomore episode of our brand new show, the GVGCast, where we get together to kick back and chat about what we've been playing, the week's biggest gaming news, and of course, discuss topics submitted by our wonderful patrons. I'm your host, Ash Paulson, and I'm joined today by my good friend and GVG co-founder, Steve Bowling, as well as our amazing art director, Daniel Alba. Guys, how you doing? How's your week been?
Whew, man, it's been a week.
Yes,
for those,
that it has.
I can finally talk in detail about Horizon, which is so good
Woo!
that I won't talk about it in detail because I love you all too much to spoil anything.
Right.
But goddamn, go play that game. Please,
dude,
go play that
please
game.
Do.
The first thing I'm doing when I finish the post-production work on this episode tonight is going out to Target or somewhere and buying Horizon Forbidden West because I am so freaking excited to play this game finally. I'm so happy it's out.
I've
already gotten a couple hours into it, and it's really it looks gorgeous. It feels amazing. I'm gonna give Ash a heart attack by talking about it.
I can't wait. And if you haven't seen Steve's review of Horizon Forbidden West right here on the channel, you should go check it out because he did a bang up job. And dude, I have to thank you again for taking that off my hands when work just got too crazy for me. I super appreciate you, doing that, and you killed it, man. You did an amazing job on your review. And I cannot wait to play it.
Well,
I know what score you gave it. I know how much you loved it, and I can't wait to play it.
It is my first perfect score on GVG, and I don't want to just take all the credit here. I do have to give a huge thanks to Brandon because he stepped in at the 11th hour and edited that for me. My parents, for those of you that haven't kept up, my parents came into town while I had the most fraught review cycle ever with this game, and it's not because Sony gave me no time to do it. They provided me plenty of time, but like Ash said, I planned on him doing it, and then his life got busy, but I had literally 2 out-of-town trips, and then my parents showed up while I was doing all this. So it just was a lot of life stuff going on around the review cycle of this game for me. I just, Brandon can't be here. His internet is down, but God bless him. The fact that I literally hit him up, I think 2 days before the review went live, and I was like, look, man, I've written and recorded. I was like, but my family's in town, and I really don't want to be locked up in my office while they're doing things all around me, trying to tell them to just exist around me while I make a video. So he hopped in and really helped me out with that. Can't thank him enough. I know that he is not resting because he's definitely playing Horizon, but I hope he's getting some well-deserved rest somewhere in there.
Hopefully he does this weekend. And by the way, for those of you asking about Derek, he's fine, but he had plans with his family tonight, and he actually did offer to join us halfway through, but we were like, dude, we've all been working hard. You need to rest. He did an amazing job on his Xenoblade Chronicles 3 analysis with Chugga. And we're like, dude, take the night off. We got this. Go enjoy spending time with
Friday night. Go have fun. I mean, this is my fun for Friday night, but I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to see all y'all. I'm happy to see Daniel Radiant Alba. That's the new name.
I love it. He is quite radiant. Yes. Also, for those of you asking about John, he will be on the occasional episode of the GVG cast, but it is midnight for him. So it is more important to us, of course, that he gets sleep, that he spends proper time with his family. By the time we finish here, it's about 1:30 in the morning his time. So he will be on the occasional episode, but you shouldn't expect him to see him that often here on this show because, again, that time difference.
Yeah, we don't want to ask him to start doing something at midnight. If we've got something like a Nintendo Direct or something like that, then you can absolutely expect him there. But, on a weekly podcast, we just don't want to commit him to something like that. He's got family. He's got a baby.
Yeah.
We all know how that goes, or at least I do. I have babies.
You and Derek do.
Derek does too.
We don't.
So. I have my wife, but no kids over here. Just an amazing, wonderful wife. But, well... As always, we do have a sponsor. We have a couple of sponsors for today's episode, the first one of which is our good friend, The Game Orb. The Game Orb is a YouTube channel that brings commentary and gameplay footage from the Nintendo Switch and Xbox Series X gaming systems. While games like Sonic Colors Ultimate and Splatoon 2 can be seen on the channel, The Game Orb will have a new Mario Party Superstars video every weekday this month, which will include a match with me, Steve, and a friend of his, as well as videos showing all 5 boards with 30 turns each, and ranking all the minigames and groups of which game they originated from. So be sure to subscribe to The Game Orb, and I'm going to drop those links right here in our YouTube chat. Please show them love, because they have showed us so much love. since the very beginning, and they have just been amazing. So thank you, Game Orb. Please, everyone, go check out their content and subscribe. I just pinned their links, his link, as well as his friend Galactic Reaper's link to our YouTube chat. So please,
thank you so much for your support. Real quick, I want to point out, I'm seeing some familiar faces in the chat that haven't been present for a while. Ditto M, I see him in the chat. Welcome back.
It's been a while.
It's really good to see you. And Dat Alpha Lion, I'm never going to skip on an opportunity to self-promote. That is not, in fact, a No More Heroes 3 shirt. That is a Good Vibes Gaming shirt. And if you're watching here on YouTube, you can find it right beneath this video, available for purchase. So if you like it, it's available for you right now. With a few new shirts designed by the man himself, Daniel, coming very soon.
Yeah, so definitely keep an eye out for that. We also do have a couple of super chats coming in. Our good old friend Jaden Buck with $5, continuing on the Crazy Question Fridays. I love this. Crazy question number 28. So we've got Xbox Series S and Xbox Series X. Do you think we'll get an Xbox Series E? It's not even the post show yet. It's not even the post show yet, and we're getting spicy. Something tells me that's not going to happen. It's just a hunch, but I don't think Microsoft's going to do that.
Probably not, but if they do, I will buy a Series S and a Series E just for the memes.
I mean, they've already made the X-Bone, so who knows from here on.
That is true.
And they did do the Xbox One SAD edition. The Xbox One is all digital.
And I kind of always liked shortening Xbox Series X to XX, so we kind of already got there anyway. It kind of works, right? So thank you, Jaden, for the question. Watcher TL with $2. Thank you so much. Asking us, have any of you ever eaten dim sum? Yes, I have, and I love it. And now you just made me want... I've got coffee, which is my other favorite thing, but now you're making me want dim sum, and I can't eat it because we're doing this episode. Thank you.
I will say that you're at authentic dim sum when they cut the food with scissors. When they come to the table and they cut stuff up with scissors, that's how you know you're at one of the good spots.
Yeah, hell yeah. Oh, I got to get dim sum soon now. Thank you for the reminder, Watcher. RecBCQ with $2. Thank you so much, saying the GVGcast graphics look slick. Well done, Daniel.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah, man.
Thanks, Rex. Thank you so much.
No question there. You killed it, dude.
I will be the first to admit my inner Steve Jobs came out when we were working on these. I was like, I don't know what's wrong with it, but it needs to be perfect.
But the important thing is that it got there, and what we came up with, what Daniel came up with, kicks ass. And dude, again, Daniel, you killed it, man. Thank you.
Oh man, yeah, it's always a team effort to put all these put together. Everyone gets their input heard, and we always make sure that everyone is cool with what we have on here before we throw it up here. So
yeah, it is definitely designed by committee, but Daniel is clearly the visionary of the group here on these.
I really want to get that logo in like an acrylic lamp type thing, like because it's like the whole neon light loungy vibe, and I think that would be so cool to have an acrylic lamp version of that on the wall or something.
Like those, like all those like little like pipe frame, those pipe lamps that have like they say now open, but it's just the GVGcast instead with the buttons and control pad. That looks so cool.
Right. Really quick, answering a personal question from Ditto M in the chat. Do I have a dog? Not at the moment. Our previous dog passed away about 1.5 years ago now, and in that time we've moved, and my wife and I plan to get another dog. It's just a matter of when we have time to actually go out and do it. But yes, we will have a dog. It'll probably be another Yorkie. We love Yorkies. So I will have a dog soon, and you can bet that when we do, it's going to become an unofficial mascot of the channel. Like, that's totally the way Maximilian Dude does with his dog. It's totally got to happen. It's like, everyone loves dogs. Who doesn't love dogs? All right. Our good friend Sonic and Mega Man 531 with $5. Thank you so much, saying, ironically, while Illumination is working on the Mario movie, don't forget that in Despicable Me, Vector had a Wii console, remember? I don't remember because I never saw Despicable Me. Did you guys?
Nope. I mean, I should say I've seen it, but I haven't seen it. Like, my kids have watched it multiple times with me in the room, and I'm just having like an out-of-body experience waiting for the movie to be over. But
we've observed it.
Yeah. It has happened around me at one point.
Yeah. Black Ninja with $2. Here we go. Waiting for Conduit remasters while others want Metroid. Keep that flame burning for Conduit, man. I love it. I love that you're so committed to the cause. I hope that it happens for you someday. I really do. All right, and then last super chat for now, Eric Flapjack Ashley with $5. So thank you so much, saying, Daniel got me hyped to play Majora's Mask on Twitter today. Have a great show, guys. Majora's Mask is awesome, and we're going to talk about that briefly later in the show. It is coming to Switch, NSO N64 on the 25th, so not long to wait.
I'm so looking forward for people to play that for the first time and just to play it again. And I want to stream this game too. I want everyone to experience my love for this game. So I'm very much looking forward for that next week.
It's such a special game.
I'm terrified though, because I mean, Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask are two of my favorite games ever. And certainly cream of the crop for the N64 as far as I'm concerned, which, I mean, low bar, but still. But I know these games so intimately that, like, I tried to play Ocarina of Time and the input lag was enough to just turn me off of it. Same for Mario 64. Like, I felt like both of them had just ever so slight, like, they had noticeable input lag, and it just, I just couldn't play it. And I know that Ocarina of Time still has some visual glitches, but I haven't even been able to play far enough to experience those, because the controls are just so comparatively unresponsive that man, I just can't do it. I need Nintendo to do better with these, and I'm hopeful, because every time they release a game they make minor tweaks to the emulator and fixes, and it gets a little bit better. So I'm hopeful that with Majora's Mask we'll finally get whatever update we need to bring it up to par with, at least with playing it on an original N64.
I hope so, because Banjo-Kazooie played pretty perfectly for Banjo-Kazooie. I didn't notice any differences with that. So hopefully going forward, they're emulating this with a bit more like of a mind for this kind of stuff that people will notice, as you said, and noticed. So
Banjo-Kazooie seemed pretty solid. Yeah, and I'm assuming that maybe we'll get Kirby 64 next month for, just to kind of ring in the release of Kirby and the Forgotten Land. I guess we'll see what they decide on, but that would make sense to me. Speaking of N64 or NSO N64, I tweeted this out yesterday or the other day, but I had a Fight a Founder session. That's one of our Patreon tiers, by the way, if you're curious about that. Check us out at patreon.com/GVGaming. I had a Fight a Founder session with our good friend, Super Dank Awesome Unicorn Guy, where we played Mario Kart 64. And you guys, I can't believe I ever used to be good at this game, because I don't get the physics anymore. I can't stay on the. It's like I can't stay on the road.
I felt like an old man with a controller in my hands. Like, what is this game? I don't understand anymore.
So weird. And like, I'm still really good at like Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, Mario Kart DS. Those are still fine. I can still play them. I don't think it's my age in this case. Yes, I'm old, but in this case, I don't think that's it. I can't figure out Mario Kart 64 anymore. I don't know how to be good at it.
Drifting is so weird and awkward, and the physics are just not right anymore. It's like I don't remember playing this anymore.
Yeah, the physics are super bizarre. I mean, I was always bad at Super Mario Kart, so that's not surprising. I'm still bad at that, but I was pretty good at 64 back in the day, and I can't do it anymore. So,
well, you're also playing it on NSO though, which, I mean, to be fair, I think you need to give yourself a little bit of credit, like give yourself a little bit of a skill offset based on the fact that the emulation's not perfect and you're playing it on the worst of the big three online networks.
That is true. That is true.
Yeah. And you're essentially just playing bolted on online. So there's a lot of things there that I think you should be a little less hard on yourself about it.
Fair enough.
One thing I noticed with those games, I went out and I bought the N64 controller. Nintendo didn't even send it to me. I just went out and I wanted it so bad that I picked up like the new N64 controller, and that thing is way wonkier than I remember. Like I did not get the complaints as a teenager. Like, obviously those of us that are old enough to have been around when that came out, like, the complaints about the design are not new. Like, everybody that saw it was like, man, that's weird. I don't want to use that. But I was, at this point, like a Nintendo diehard. I loved that controller. I had zero issues with it as a teenager, but getting it back, like Daniel's holding right there, every game feels weird on it.
It still feels weird.
Yeah.
It's this little nub.
Decades of refinement in analog stick technology has made me come around to the other side of that argument. I'm like, what were you thinking, Nintendo? That thing is a pain to use.
I have to say, as much of a hardcore Nintendo fan as I was and still am, I never liked the N64 controller, even back in the day.
You were on the right side of history on that one.
I never liked it. I always felt janky and awkward to me. But fortunately, they would then turn around and go in the complete opposite direction, in my opinion, with the GameCube controller, which is still one of my very favorite controllers of all time.
One of the best
if not my top favorite. Yeah,
I remember seeing the GameCube controller and being like, oh God, yes. Like the minute I saw it, I was like, I want that in my life. I imported that. And I remember like, this is the worst story I can probably tell, but it's very telling of where my mind was at in 2001. But I remember going to Target on 9/11. I was working, so I went to work super early in the morning, and the whole day people were talking to me and they're like, did you hear? Did you hear? And I had just gone into social chameleon mode and I was like, yeah, terrible. Everything. Wow. What a day. Woo. Where the world. And I get home and I finally open the door. I'm living with my mom and dad at this point. And I'm like, what happened today? What was the terrible thing that happened today? Because no one actually told me for my entire shift what had happened. Just everyone was like, can't believe it. Terrible day, tragedy. And so I just started repeating it. Yep, awful, tragedy. Got it. And I get home and they're like, we're under attack. I was like, wait, what? Like, what? Like, we got attacked and my dad showed me the video and it was terrible. Oh. And I had the initial oh God, this is the worst thing in human history. And then I thought about it and I was like, I bought my import GameCube from a place in New York. Am I ever going to get that?
Really? That
I hate to say it, but I was like, did the store that I bought my GameCube from get blown up? Because the GameCube had come out 2 days before, I think. And I was like, I just spent hundreds of dollars on that thing. Am I ever going to, because they grounded flights. You couldn't go anywhere. I was like, and I felt bad. I called them and I was like, are you guys okay? And they're like, yeah, we're okay. And I was like, do you know when orders will ship again? And I was like,
you didn't. No. You didn't ask them that. You didn't.
I had to. You have to remember, I was 20 years old. I was I spent all my money in the world on this thing. And now I was like, I don't even know if it exists. I don't know if I'll ever get. And I felt like such
all young and dumb
piece of shit when it showed up. I was like, I'm glad I have this. And I feel like I absolutely shouldn't be glad I have this.
Well, at least even at the time you felt bad about it. Because I
definitely did.
Right? So
then I played Luigi's Mansion. And I was like, this game slaps. This is great.
Right. Oh my God. In some good vibes, I got a message here in our live audience patron chat from Juan Delgado saying, "Hey Ash, I'm playing Okami this week. You happy? You bet I am, man. Nice. Okami is my second favorite game of all time, and I try to spread the Okami gospel everywhere I can. I hope you enjoy it, and let me know how you're coming along with progress. I'd love to hear how it's coming along for you." But I still can't. I can't believe that story, Steve. Oh my God. Well,
yeah, it was definitely. I was a much less mature person back in 2001.
Most
of us were.
We all were.
I mean, I was
exactly.
Yeah. It was a different time. It was. I had very few concerns back then.
Yeah. What you been playing recently, other than Horizon Forbidden West, which I haven't gotten to play yet, but will be tonight? Anything else?
I got back into Pokemon Legends Arceus. I started playing it because, while I was playing this game that I know, first world problem, none of you got to enjoy it yet, I was missing out on Pokemon. And honestly, I really deeply wanted to play that game, despite Horizon being as awesome as it is. I also just wanted to play the game everyone else was playing. And that is kind of the weird thing that I'll say about being a games journalist or a critic, is that there is kind of a sense of solitude to the whole thing, because you don't get to ride the hype wave with people. Like, often, you're honestly one of the people creating the wave of hype in a way, because you play this game and you're like, oh man, it was awesome. Can't wait for you all to try it. And then you have to bottle up all your takes on the game for a month while you wait for everyone else to beat the game, to where it's okay to be like, oh man, did you see that twist in Horizon? But so I was kind of getting that about Pokemon. Like, everyone was like, oh my God, I caught my first Snorlax. And I'm like, damn you, I want to play this so bad. And so the first thing I did when I wrapped the review for Horizon was I started playing Pokemon again. And that game is so good. Like, I love this game so much, not just for what it is, but for what it could potentially represent down the road for Pokemon.
Right. Yeah, I've been dabbling in it. I haven't had a whole lot of time to play it recently, but I did get to at least the beginning of the second major area, and it's a game that I'm both enjoying, but I'm also not feeling like I'm being driven to go back to all the time. Like, I'm enjoying it, and I do eventually want to finish it, but it's not like I have to play it every minute that I can. You know, it hasn't quite hooked me like that yet.
I played this game I've completed the post game last week. The entirety of the game was definitely a solid experience. I'm happy where Pokemon is finally going and breaking away from the usual convention that we've come to expect to. Everyone's just excited the fact that Pokemon Company is doing something that we don't expect them to do, which is this whole open world kind of feeling game. There's definitely room for improvement. There's like a lot of little things that you can tell they're just experimenting with, but a lot of like quality of life changes that the Pokemon games have needed for a long time, like how Pokemon can learn all the moves, but you can just swap them out as you need them.
I love that.
That's such a like why hasn't that happened until now? And please do that going forward.
I feel like they had to get some new blood in at TPCI and Game Freak specifically, who was just like, why aren't we doing this? Like, this doesn't make sense. And I absolutely love that they are taking risks that I think we've all wanted them to take for decades with this franchise.
Absolutely.
It is so good to see Pokemon grow up a little bit and kind of look at what modern games do, rather than just being like, hey, we're Pokemon, we're too big to fail, you know?
Right.
Because I think there is a certain sense of like Nintendo and TPCI just don't want to rock the boat. They just want Pokemon to keep printing money. And I mean, it has worked, but it has also lost something that made it special along the way. So I agree, Daniel. I think this is great. I love seeing all the little mechanical changes they've made under the hood that just make it feel like a more modern experience, which is ironically set in the past.
Yeah,
right.
Really.
Right. Yeah.
And the just real quick, and also the Breath of the Wild DNA is really strong in this game as well. But that's totally fine.
You can tell. And one thing I like about it too is that even though it's not technically the best looking game out there, far from it, even far from the best looking Switch game, I love the color palette. Like, the draw distance isn't great, and there are a lot of jaggies. It's not a great looking game, but God, that color palette just is so warm and pretty and inviting, and it just makes you want to just walk into the TV and be there and just be in that beautiful nature. I just love the color palette they went with.
This game has an incredible skybox. Like,
it does,
one of the best skybox I've seen. It looks so gorgeous at any time of day. I love it.
Okay, I have to just, if we're talking about skyboxes, I didn't mention this in my review, but when you play Horizon, just stand and wait for a night cycle to go through. The nighttime skybox in Horizon will blow your mind with how nice it looks. Like, it is...
I can't wait.
I just want to live there, minus all the dinosaur robots.
and you were so right about what you said earlier, Steve, about like the double-edged sword that can be being a games critic, because again, you review games in a vacuum. We've all been there, and you just you have to stay quiet about it. And as sad as I was to not be able to review it myself, I started thinking about some of the silver linings in that sense. And two of my best friends are going to be playing Horizon Forbidden West, and now instead of having to shut up and not talk to them about it and play it before them, I can kind of just play it in lockstep with them. And there's something to be said for that. It's really cool having early access, and it hurt to give it up. But at the same time, it's kind of cool just to be able to play it alongside a couple of your best buds, right? So it's, a little bit of one and a little bit of the other. It goes both ways.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. One thing I did want to mention, just to talk a bit about something I've been playing quickly. Eggroll20XD6 in our live audience patron chats had been playing a ton of Infernax thanks to Ash's first look, and I'm so glad you enjoyed that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, because I've been playing Infernax, and if you haven't seen my first look right here on the channel, you should go check that out and see if it's your thing. But it is basically a 2D action platformer directly inspired by specific games like Castlevania 2 and Zelda 2. And it's really good, you guys. Like, it is. It's got a kick-ass soundtrack, too. Great chiptune soundtrack. It is incredibly hyper-violent, though. So if you're not into violent video games, maybe don't play it.
I was surprised. So I watched just the opening of your first look before I played it at all. And I was expecting it to be way more violent. Like I was kind of surprised that you gave so many content warnings.
Well, did you get to the first choice cutscene where you can kill the guy? Or okay,
I
so
did,
you saw
and
what happened.
And for lack of a better term, I beat his meat until I thought I'd maybe get a trophy if I kept doing it, and then nothing happened. I was really disappointed. Okay. But I saw that and I was like, y'all never played Splatterhouse, did you?
Like, oh wait, so you tried to save him, right? And he turned into the big monster?
Yeah.
Okay. Have you seen what happens when you don't save him? When you just kill him?
No, I have not.
Okay, there's an incredibly graphic scene where
I am just going to ask this, though. Yeah. Is it worse? First off, I have to ask, have you played Splatterhouse? That is a really important qualifier.
No, I have.
Okay. So
I wouldn't say it's worse than Splatterhouse, but I do think it's a kind of thing where if you're someone who has a weak stomach for violence and gore in video games, I do think it's a kind of game.
I guess I could see that. Like I was weaned on horror games or as on horror movies as a kid. You know, I grew up in the 80s, like when Freddy Krueger and Jason were hot. So I saw all of those when I was like 7. But you know, so I'm like, this isn't too bad. But Splatterhouse literally in one moment has you chainsawing demon babies. And I was like, I remember as a kid being like, that's a little gross, but that's kind of my bar. Like,
yeah. No, that makes sense. And I mean, for us, you know, I'm desensitized to violence in video games. So are you, Steve. I mean, I think that, but I just, for someone like, for example, Amy, you know, like Derek's partner, Amy, who really abhors violent games, it's too much. I just don't think that would be someone.
Yeah, I would say that if like Mortal Kombat, which is kind of like the well-known, you know, watermark for violence in games, I would say that Mortal Kombat does it like with a comedic spin to it. Like they try to be funny about the violence in Mortal Kombat at this point. Whereas Infernax does not try to inject humor into itself at all. It is very much like I say a very timid, gory game, but I think for some folks, depending on your level of comfort, then it could be considered to be utterly terrifying because there is a lot of like blood and guts and sinew being thrown around, but it's all like, you know, it's not super realistic. It's all pixel art and but I do like the game mechanically. Very fun.
I just posted an image of what happens in our crew channel. So
hold on. I got to see this.
Yeah.
If we're talking about this, I got to take a look because
it's low res, unfortunately, but it gives you a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about.
All right. Yeah. So like his face is getting crushed essentially.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, it's a bit much for someone maybe who isn't into violent games.
Oh, wow. The Steam page has video of that exchange.
Oh, perfect.
I chose the heroic option to just help. And I figured it would end with me killing him anyway, based on how the game was. And I was right.
Yeah.
But for those of you wondering, I'm talking about the old like TurboGrafx 16 and arcade Splatterhouse games. I thought the 360 one was kind of weak.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, agreed. I never played the 360 one, but I saw like footage of it, and it didn't seem like it was great.
My brother picked it up when we were living together at that time, and I watched him play it, and I was like, it just doesn't have the same feel to it.
Right. The only other thing I'll mention here in terms of my gaming life recently is that I got a really pleasant surprise last week, I should say at this point. We had late holiday gift exchange with my parents. We didn't get to see them over the holidays because of COVID, but we had our late gift exchange, and my wife and my parents conspired to get me an Xbox Series X.
One of us.
I got a Series X. Hell yeah! And I've been using Becca's, our comedian member Becca's Series S for a while, and I'm going to send that back to her, of course. But I've got a Series X, and you know, I've been playing Sonic Generations at 60 FPS. It's a dream.
John.
It's a dream. It's so good. Just playing Generations at 60 FPS is such a dream, and it's just reminds me of how much I love that game. And it is as good, indeed as good as I thought it was 10 years ago. I can't believe how good it still looks. It's aged incredibly well. But we have been talking about the games we've been playing for quite a while, and we do have some news to talk about. But before that, we have another sponsor, Straight Lace, who's going to play an ad for you right now. You want to bring that up, Steve?
Welcome to my channel. My name is Straight-Lace, and I make content, and sometimes I've got Monster Hunter.
As they say in England.
Ow! I've got Pokemon.
I'm gonna do something really stupid.
I've got game design analysis.
Fast and unthought out decisions can have some nasty consequences down the line.
And I've also got Dungeons and Dragons.
I like how half the party is cultured and they're like, it's just food, and the other half is, what is this magic?
So feel free to stop by, say hi, learn a little, and laugh a little.
All right, we're back.
And we're back. Thank you for that, Straight-Lace, and thank you so much for, supporting everything we do here, supporting GVGcast, and being a sponsor. We love you. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about some news. Of course, news isn't the focus of GVGcast like it was our previous show, Today's News Tonight, but we do still want to talk about some of our, some of the biggest stories from the past week, some of the stuff that is most interesting to us and people are chatting about, which, of course, one of the biggest ones, aside from today being Horizon Forbidden West's launch day, there's been a lot of chatter about Nintendo coming out and saying that they're going to be closing the 3DS and Wii U eShops next March, sometime in late March 2023. And there's been a lot of chatter about that, a lot of, anger about game preservation and accessing your purchases. And it's a complicated topic. So I wanted to go ahead and lead with that. How are you guys feeling about this in general? Because I see it from two perspectives. On one hand, preserving games is super important, and also having access to your purchases is super important. On the other hand, I also see it from the business angle where it doesn't necessarily make sense to expect Nintendo to keep these servers running forever, just from a business perspective. So how are you feeling about it, Steve?
To quote our good friend Jack Garland, bullshit. This is
nice.
I understand Nintendo and companies like to make you feel sorry for them. They like to make you feel like, oh God, this is such a Herculean task for us to keep this eShop open. One, I mean, we're only a couple years out, from the end of the life of these consoles. And
right.
Two, if this was like us, like if GVG was running an eShop, I would understand us needing to close it, to make room for a new one. This is Nintendo we're talking about. These guys make billions. They count. They're not hurting for cash. This is not like such a huge expenditure that their accountant is like, guys, we got to shut down this eShop. It's going to put us under. Oh my God, what are we going to do? Like, no, this Nintendo's like, we can cover the cost of this by selling 100,000 Switches, which they're doing every couple weeks, it feels like. So, I just don't. And the thing is, as somebody who works in IT, who has a lot of experience with the cost of running servers and operating servers, while I've never built anything to the scale of what Nintendo does with the eShop, I can also say that if somebody gave me, if I was part of Nintendo's IT department, like this would not be a huge expense of either person hours or of money, because you can unless Nintendo is doing this completely backwards, which it is Nintendo, there's absolutely that possibility. These should be like virtual servers that live on someone else's services, like Amazon or Google or Apple, or someone else is probably hosting the eShop outside of Nintendo. Like, it's not like the eShop exists in a building in Kyoto. Nintendo probably hosts this like every other company does on a virtual cloud provider somewhere else.
Right.
And so it's really just the line item of the monthly, like, hey, let's keep this running and let's make sure people can't hack it. Those are the two things that they really have to keep doing on an eShop that is essentially deprecated. And the other thing that I bring up every time this comes up, Nintendo's not shutting down the servers. They are shutting down the ability to purchase, because if you can re-download, that means the servers are still up. They're just turning off the ability for you to give them money for shit that you still might want. And that is where I have a major problem. Like, if you told me, hey, we're taking down the servers completely and you can't re-download, at least from like the IT person side of my brain, I'd be like, well, that makes sense. They're literally shutting it down. But they're not. Like, they're just modifying it so you can't buy stuff anymore. And again, I would much rather, if it's the result of like third-party agreements expiring, like, hey, we only said that we would sell our games on the Wii U for 5 years and we want out. Cool. Delist those. and come out and say, hey, Bandai Namco doesn't want to sell their games on here anymore, but we'll still sell you all our virtual console stuff. I'd be happy with that. I would accept it.
Yeah.
I would then shift the blame to those folks. And maybe if I had to guess, Nintendo, given the fact that they have not always enjoyed the best of relationships with third parties, that this might be part of what it really is, hey, you know, a lot of third parties don't give a shit about the Wii U anymore, and they want to pull their stuff because Nintendo is maybe charging them to have it there in the first place. And they might say, well, we're not going to sell anything, so screw you, we're out. But they don't want to burn a bridge with them by saying, hey, Konami said they don't want their games on the Wii U eShop anymore. Go yell at Konami. They'd rather just shut down sales because they're probably not seeing enough from it. But I just don't have any compassion for Nintendo here. I think they are screwing over their fans. And I feel like,
I agree.
You know, if they said, hey, we're porting over 5 or 6 of the best Wii U games that we haven't done, and we're bringing the virtual console, like, you want to buy these ROMs, you can buy them on Switch. Hell, close the whole thing down. I wouldn't care. But there's, you know, John did a wonderful video on just how much stuff is getting stranded there. And I got to admit, like, I don't usually watch videos and get heated after watching them, but I saw John's video. I was like, that's a lot of stuff. Like, I want that.
And it's for no discernible benefit, too. It's for no discernible benefit. And I do want to get your thoughts, too, Dana, but really quick, I do want to clarify from McSpunk in our YouTube chat saying, at least let us access our purchases. You will still, as Steve kind of mentioned already, you still will be able to access anything you've already bought past the March 2023 deadline. How far beyond that, we don't know. But you will be able to access any games and DLC you've bought, as well as continue to play online with the 3DS and Wii U until some undetermined point in the future. But there is going to be a point at which that access expires too, and that's completely messed up. I wanted to kind of play devil's advocate to introduce this news story to get your thoughts, but Steve, I'm in lockstep with you. I think it would be different if they were completely shutting down the servers, and that would be a different problem, but they're not. And so they're blocking access to these games for no discernible benefit. And it's ridiculous. But Daniel, we've been talking. I want to get your thoughts on this too, man.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like, these shops have been like for the Wii Shop channel and the eShop channel, they have about a lifespan of about 12 years or so. And so looking in the future, like, how long until something like this would happen into the Switch as well? Because eventually these shop channels, like, they're going to discontinue services. And there's a lot of stuff on the Switch. But aside from the Switch, there's so much content on these shop channels that we're just not going to have access to at all anymore. We've already seen it happen with the Wii Shop channel. There's a lot of titles, original eShop titles that only happen there, and we no longer have any access to. And that's going to be the same thing with the 3DS and the Wii U. And like, there's entire games that are on there. Like, I just pulled off my Fire Emblem Fates. Like, the whole Third Path Revelations is not going to be available anymore unless you have the special edition that was physical cartridge that had all 3 of them on the same cartridge. If you don't have that, then you're not going to have access to an entire game, an entire side of the story that's like 1/3 of the whole shebang. And then just so much DLC content that you're not going to be able to have access to. And so people are starting to justifiably, like, get on the shop channel and start buying these things because it's not going to be available for much longer. And it seems like another tactic to get people to buy things, like, last ditch effort before it closes entirely.
The side that John kind of hammered home and that I didn't even think about in his video was that this is going to have a huge impact on the price of physical versions of some of these games as well.
Yeah.
Once physical becomes the only avenue for some of these titles, those prices are going to skyrocket. And we're going to start seeing Wii U games go for hundreds of dollars because there's no alternative way to get them. And there's games that are stuck, like Pushmo, which is just on the eShop. So I don't know. I mean, somebody said that me saying Nintendo is screwing over fans was a bit much, but I respectfully disagree. I think that if you're a fan that has a Wii U, I know people that still play Xbox 360 and that is their primary console of choice. So, those of us here that have Switches, like, we're eating well, but who knows? 5-10 years from now, like Daniel said, who knows that our Switch eShop won't get shut down and we will be scrambling again to build libraries on, assuming Nintendo moves away. But I do agree that I think Nintendo is possibly learning And I think that with the success of the Switch, the last thing they want to do is tell people, hey, remember all those cool games you got? Buy them again. Like they have to know they have a limited number of those that they can pull, and they've pulled quite a few of them. And I think with how incredibly the Switch has been performing, like that user base being as big as it is, and then telling people like, hey, guess what? We're abandoning all of this and starting over. That is just bad business.
Right. Yeah, I completely agree. And I don't, it's a bit much, I think, for us to expect Nintendo to have a wholesome solution to this, because they've never really been concerned about things like that. Right. Preservation, especially. They've never been concerned about that. And they've never, they're still way behind the times when it comes to a lot of their, not even a lot, all of their online offerings and services and such. So it's not surprising that they're doing this and that they're not more concerned about preservation and such, but it is definitely disappointing. And I wish things were going in a different direction with it. But speaking of 3DS and Wii U, on a slightly lighter note, as kind of part of this, Nintendo launched a website, My Nintendo 3DS Wii U Memories.nintendo.com, where you can actually if you log in with your Nintendo ID or whatever, you can find your total playtime. Go ahead, Steve.
This was so cool, but so depressing for me.
Why is that?
Well, because I'm thinking fondly about all the games I played on Wii U and all the games I played. I thought myself someone who played quite a lot of those consoles. And Nintendo was like, not a chance. They were like, you did nothing. You watched Netflix a lot on this thing. I was shocked.
Same here.
The worst part is my most used app was Netflix. And I had only logged 70 hours of Netflix on the thing. I barely used my Wii U and I didn't realize it.
Right. Amazingly, my top game was not Smash 3DS. That's my number 2 most played game, which at 203 hours. But looking back in context, I'm not surprised that my number 1 most played game was the Street Pass Mii Plaza. I have talked a lot before about how much I miss Street Pass. I loved Street Pass. I loved Street Pass and spent so much time with all those games, and I miss it. So it just brings all those memories flooding back for me. 272 hours spent in the Street Pass Mii Plaza, which I just can't believe. That's amazing.
I gotta find.
What about you, Daniel?
Here. I got my numbers right here. Oh, good Lord. Yeah, I was so surprised. My number 2 for Wii U was Netflix, of all things.
Yeah.
Really? Both of you watching Netflix on your 3DS.
This is my family watching it. I don't even get to claim ownership of these hours. It was just other people watching it for me. Number 1 was Smash 4 for Wii U and on there. But, oh, Lord, my 3DS numbers. My top 2 games are only 3 hours apart. Number 2 is Animal Crossing New Leaf. Number 1 is Fire Emblem Fates, because it all came in one package, and I made the mistake of playing the entire series, Birthright, Conquest, and then Revelations back to back, and I spent 353 hours with it for some reason.
Right.
Number 3 is Fire Emblem Awakening, so it gives you a hint of what kind of person I am, just looking at all this stuff I have here. But it's just funny, and also just kind of a kick in the teeth for. Remember all these games that you're not going to be able to play soon? Here's your stats.
Yeah. Well, this is interesting. I'm kind of having a little bit of shell shock like you, Steve, for my Wii U numbers, because my number 2 and 3, I wouldn't have expected this. My number 2 and 3 most played games on Wii U were Hulu and YouTube somehow. I would not have expected that.
I'm telling you.
Thankfully, number 1 is Smash Wii U. Of course it is. It's 723 hours. That's not surprising. It's Smash. But the others aren't even games, and that kind of surprises me.
Shows what we prioritized for the Wii U back when it was the hot system.
I will give myself credit. On the 3DS, my top played game is Animal Crossing. My second top played game, which bears out things I've said over the years, is Fantasy Life. And then oddly, my third top played game is Pokemon Y, which I wouldn't have expected. But
Fantasy Life, that brings me back, because that review always did such weirdly amazing numbers back on Game Explain. I reviewed that game, and it got I don't even know what it's up to now, but I think it was up to 700,000 or something last time I checked, and it's Fantasy Life. It's not as though it was a huge,
it's such a
big
good
deal
game though.
Yeah, it was. It's just surprising that it got that many views for a game that isn't like a big tentpole release,
Yeah.
Oh,
On
you guys got me
Wii
really.
U, I had to look at it again because I couldn't remember. But the sad thing is, and I want to point this out, I only ever played 500 hours in the entirety of the time that I had my Wii U, which is comparatively very little because I've played more than that in like single games on my Switch. But
right.
My second most played game was Tokyo Mirage Sessions,
which
nice.
is such a damn good game, and it honestly was kind of a Trojan horse for Fire Emblem for me because I had just finished Awakening and then I played Tokyo Mirage Sessions and I was like, oh, this is good stuff. And so it definitely opened my eyes to other stuff. I ended up playing Shin Megami Tensei because of that. I've played a little bit of Persona 5. Like, it is absolutely a gateway game. And then my third one, ironically, is Smash, which, I mean, I couldn't have guessed that being in my top 3.
Yeah, because you're not like a huge Smash guy like I am, so that kind of surprises me.
Yeah, I would have thought Mario Kart 8 would have taken that third spot because I remember lots of late nights playing Mario Kart.
Right.
For sure. Man, you got me curious to look up my 3DS because then 3DS has like your very detailed stats of your most played games. You got me curious to see what else is on there.
Yeah. Well, we have been talking quite a bit about this, our wistful memories of 3DS and Wii U, and that's a bit of a downer. So let's talk about some hype Nintendo news that dropped this week. I say news; it's not, well, we got Majora's Mask hitting NSO N64 next week on February 25th, which is exciting. Obviously, that's very cool. But on the more speculative side, Retro Studios have changed their Twitter banner to a new image of Samus, which has caused all sorts of Metroid Prime 4 speculation and discussion to begin anew. And it is a pretty cool image. I still don't think we're seeing this game until late 2023 at the earliest. It feels like it's still...
I will firmly disagree at this point on that.
Really? Okay.
I don't think we're getting the game, but I feel like Retro would not have been allowed to do that unless a trailer or something was imminent.
Oh, you're right. Sorry, I should say, when I said see, I mean like, get it, like it come out. I totally agree. We're going to see it in trailer form way sooner than that. Yeah.
Yeah, this is totally like this is totally the first image you see when they reveal the game of the silhouette of Samus coming out. You see her very large shoulders as you would see in the Prime series. Yeah. We get so excited for these colors because remember when we first saw Metroid Prime 4, it was just blue and black clouds and the number 4 and everyone went crazy. And I'm still going crazy about this. And I'm just like looking at this artwork right here and I'm just like, what could it mean? Where is she? Like the lights look like they could be eyes if you wanted to look at it that way. Like you could kind of piece things apart, but there's only so much to parse from that. I'm just surprised we haven't seen any kind of like even a teaser trailer by now. That would have been something. After 3 years of restarting development, we would probably expect to see something like that at this point.
It feels like it's a little bit mired in development hell, even now, even with the development restart, because we know for, I think it was like a month ago or so, Retro put out a hiring call for 2 positions on Metroid Prime 4. So it's still got to be very much in the trenches of development, right? And that's why I don't feel like we're going to see it released anytime soon still. But certainly I think a teaser or something.
I think we get either a cinematic trailer or first gameplay footage. And I think in the banner, my take is that this is just an updated version of Samus's gunship, that she's walking off of, like, onto this new planet, wherever Prime 4 is going to start. But I'll be interested to see, because I could also, like, I'm looking at it now, kind of taking the closest look I've ever taken at it, because I was like, oh, banner, Samus, neat, like, makes sense given who it's from. But when I look at it, I could also see it potentially being eyes, but to me, I kind of get the impression of it's downward facing lights, like to kind of illuminate the path for her. But then you have the kind of weird, like, it almost looks like there's a staircase up, like in the background behind her, and that she's kind of walking on what is clearly not part of like a ship or a technological thing. It just looks like a stone bridge or something. But yeah, I mean, there's, and the picture of Samus almost feels like they just picked an existing image and silhouetted it, like it almost looks out of place with the rest of the image, as though somebody like grabbed an existing image, darkened it, and then put it into place right there. But then there's the shadow that's very clearly drawn as part of the. I don't know, man. I can't make heads or tails of this. It's
no, I know.
It's an exciting time just because this is the first of anything we've really seen in 3 years, and I feel like E3 would be a great place to just show us the game already. Like,
show us something. Yeah. I kind of think, though, that we're still at least a year out from it releasing. At least.
I agree.
Late 2023 at the earliest, maybe aggressive. I'm gonna revise that and say that that's probably a little bit too much. But I do think that we are at least a year out from its release. But I'm thinking more like mid to late-ish 2023 at this point.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah. Cool. Well, we'll see eventually when this game materializes what it's all about. I really don't know where they're going to take the Prime story after Prime 3, given that it had a fairly conclusive ending, other than, of course, there was a little bit of teaser at the end. But otherwise, it was a fairly conclusive story. So I'm curious to see where they'll take it. In more interesting Nintendo news, and something we'll probably, unfortunately, never see, this is kind of interesting. Mother 3's producer actually came out and said that they would like to see the game get an English release. Shinichi Kamaoka of Brownies told Nintendo Everything that much like Mother 3 fans, he'd also love to see Mother 3 released in the US and Europe. He added, as a lover of games, I will continue to wait for Mother 3's release worldwide in English. And I feel like he might be waiting a while. I think we all might be waiting a while. And by that, I mean forever, because it feels like it's past. I hate to say it, and I really want to see it happen someday, but I just don't think it's going to happen anymore.
Yeah, I want to say over a year ago, maybe even closer to 2, I was having a chat with Emily Rogers, known Nintendo leaker and super rumor person extraordinaire, a real Nintendo insider. Let's put it that way. About Mother 3 specifically, because if for those of you that don't remember, Emily had at one point called that Mother 3 was coming in English, and it was one of her rare misses. And so she and I were talking privately about what happened there, what was going on. And while she said, she couldn't really pin down what had happened internally at NOA that made them shelve the idea, her own personal take on it was that there apparently are some lines within Mother 3 that could be read as being homophobic or transphobic. And
there are
those lines basically upon reviewing the translation, Nintendo of America likely found those and said, well, we can either, we've got ourselves an unwinnable scenario here where we either dramatically change some dialogue in the game and then get, accused of censorship and what have you, or we leave it in and we get accused of homophobia and transphobia, both of which are things we just don't want to deal with. For a game that probably won't do a lot. So Nintendo, the thinking is, and again, this is all positing. This isn't like me, saying Emily Rogers said this is what happened. This is just a personal conversation the two of us had where, this was her opinion at the time. And I have to say I agree with it. If I've not dug into Mother 3's script, so I have no idea what these lines are. But I mean, if I was Nintendo, I probably would be like, well, I can piss off one section of fans or piss off another. I'll just not piss off either, or I'll keep them both united in being pissed about the fact we're not releasing it.
Well, and speaking as someone who has played the fan translation of Mother 3, there is a whole group of, I know exactly what she's talking about, and I'm not going to say the name of the group of characters because that name itself is incredibly offensive. But those of you who played Mother 3 know what I'm talking about. And
I need to know.
Everything surrounding that group of characters is just a lot of hot water that it's a lose-lose situation for Nintendo. And I always believe that Emily's prediction was right on right on the spot. Like, I think she was right about it. Nintendo was going to release it. But then, as you said, Steve, they backed out when they, kind of zeroed in on some of the more problematic aspects and offensive aspects of the script, like the transphobia and such. So, and then again, it would be easy enough to come up with a different name for the group of characters I'm talking about. But at the same time,
I need to know this
going
name.
In and changing the script. I don't. I'll type it into chat.
I hate to say it, I just have to know for the context of it. Like, what is it that's so bad? Like, because obviously your mind goes places that are probably way worse.
I just typed it into the crew chat for you. I'm not going to say it on stream because I just don't want to.
I understand. I understand now.
Now you know. Now you know why.
It's not as nearly as offensive as I thought it could be. I will say that. But I could see it being read as offensive.
Right. Yeah. So, unfortunately, I just don't think it's going to happen given all the hot water surrounding that aspect.
That's
of the
unfortunate.
Game. And it is.
Yeah. Beyond just the name, there's just, well, I mean, you already talked about all the aspects of it, but there's a lot of just thematic elements that just probably wouldn't put Nintendo in any good lights. It wouldn't do them any good favors for having that out in a game out in 2022 or beyond. But yeah, playing the whole fan translation multiple times, it's something that fans would be very offended also if they change anything from this script, because it's such a hallmark to people.
I feel like the right move here is to do what Warner Brothers did a long time ago with some of their older, frankly offensive cartoons. And they will air those on occasion, but they always air them now with like a disclaimer right at the front that says, hey, this is a product of its time. It doesn't reflect our values now, but things were different 100 years ago, and then they let it run. And maybe Mother 3 could have something like that, like, hey, look, this was made in 2006 when stuff was quite different. Socio-political stuff was just not what it is today. And at the time, some of this stuff wasn't considered offensive, but please be aware that there are things that you may find triggering within the context of this game. While we don't agree with it, we also don't want to alter the original interpretation of the game. But I agree that, honestly, is it worth that much conversation is the thing. Like, internally at Nintendo, there has to be like a projection. Okay, we release Mother 3, it'll make us $1 million. Do we really need $1 million bad enough to deal with whatever comes as a result of it? Again, they got eShops to close. They need to save money.
Speaking very quickly of another game that we would, I think, all love to see, but we'll probably never get. Chihiro Fujioka, the director of Super Mario RPG, made waves earlier this week when they expressed interest in an interview with MinMax that they would like to make Super Mario RPG 2. And in fact, he said that he would like that to be the game that would close out his career. He said, yeah, I would absolutely love to make one. In my career, I've been involved with a lot of games, and I would really like my final one to be another Mario RPG game if possible. I think Mario and Luigi is cool, but I would like to go back and create a Mario RPG where you're only controlling Mario. So this guy wants to make Super Mario RPG 2. Let someone make it happen. Let this man do it. Oh man, I would love. What a cool way to close out his career if he actually got to tie the bow on his career with the game he wants to make, and that game just happens to be Super Mario RPG 2, right?
I mean, yes, but also didn't the Super Mario RPG 2 branding get used for Paper Mario in Japan?
It was its early name. That was the early name of Paper Mario.
Yeah, now it's known as Mario Story in Japan, so it doesn't have that title anymore. But yeah, for sure.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, I am a Super Mario RPG stan. I love that game. Like, I absolutely adore it, and I would love to see Square and Nintendo do that again. Like, I don't even know how I'd react, but I also feel like it's impossible. I feel like it's impossible at this point. Yeah. This would be one of those things where I would have like a Rogers base level reaction to a Mario RPG 2, because it feels to me like Nintendo's Shenmue 3. Like, it's just a franchise that Nintendo just washed their hands of and seems to have no interest in, which is deeply unfortunate because I think Paper Mario is cool, but it doesn't have that same magic that the original SNES Super Mario RPG had. But I think that Nintendo feels it does, or that it is a suitable replacement.
I think it has a different kind of magic, but it's not at all
right. And that's what I mean to say. It's like it's a very different energy to it. But I feel like Nintendo has cherry picked the things they liked about Super Mario RPG and incorporated it into Paper Mario. And internally, I would bet that they think that that's good enough.
Yeah,
it just lacks. It just lacks that Final Fantasy Square Enix blood inside of it, because it just, when they went to when Super Nintendo games dropped out to N64, we didn't really have Square titles anymore, and they didn't get introduced to games like that. I wonder what Paper Mario would have been like had it had more of a Square Enix like influence onto it. Like if we have something more like an actual proper Mario RPG too. But yeah, I don't think we're getting anything like a Mario RPG 2 in this day and era, unfortunately.
Yeah. And it would have to be a collaboration with Square Enix as well, because, you're not going to want a game like Super Mario RPG 2 and not have characters like Mallow and Geno in it, right? Yep. Like, they would have to come back. And this hurts, though. Fujioka was also asked if he had any story ideas in mind for a new Mario RPG, but he wouldn't share any specifics, only stating that is a secret. And that means we'll never know. We'll never know, and it hurts. It hurts so much. Okay, well, we should probably go ahead and move on to our patron topics pretty soon, but I am going to post something in our live audience patron chat. I just want to point this out. IGN released a brand new Sonic 2 movie trailer yesterday, and it's so cool, man! Yeah. I can't wait for this movie. I can't wait. Steve and Daniel, I don't know if you've seen it yet, but I just posted it in live audience. Yeah. Oh, God, I'm so excited.
I will say that it really sucks that they didn't credit Tails' voice actor on the poster.
Right.
I agree.
They didn't put Colleen
and Tika Sumpter. They Colleen and Tika don't get named on the poster, and I agree that that's kind of weak.
Yeah. Especially because I initially thought like, oh, well, it's just one. And then when I realized Tika Sumpter wasn't there as well, I was like, you could have had 3 on each side. I know Daniel knows what I'm talking about. It's like an equal number of credits. But
yeah. Don't love that. I agree. But the composition of the poster itself, and Sonic and Knuckles clashing in the bottom over the Master Emerald, it's just tickling all my fanboy receptors. And I just cannot wait for this movie, you guys. And as an aside, they did confirm that they're already in production on a Sonic 3 movie, as well as a Knuckles Paramount Plus series starring Idris Elba. So that should be interesting.
And Knuckles.
And Knuckles. So we'll see where that goes.
Oh, man.
Okay. So we do have some more super chats that have come in while we've been chatting. So I'm going to run through those really quick, or at least a few of them. Let's see. Brian Rivera with $1.99. Thank you very much. Asking, what do you guys think of the Cuphead show? I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, but I can't wait.
I have company coming over after this to watch that tonight. So
nice.
I'm excited to watch next week.
Cool. Ooh, Same. I'm going to try to watch a few episodes before next week's episode. Yeah. Or GVGcast.
Same here.
Rodrigo Grande with 50 Argentine pesos. Thank you so much. Saying hi from Argentina. Had you seen the Metroid Prime 4 banner? Did you notice those blue shades? Those are Ridley's eyes hiding us shadows looking at Samus.
I saw him in the eyes. You're not the only one.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so we talked about this already, but yeah, we didn't think about the Ridley angle, so that would be really interesting. And thank you. It's always so humbling to know that we have fans all around the world. That's so cool. Thank you, Rodrigo. Storysmith with $4.99 saying, Steve mentions 2001, cue obligation to make people feel old. I was in first grade in 2001. There are so many things in gaming that make me feel old now. I know, right? Yeah, that's definitely not a subject I want to stay on for too long. So thank you, Storysmith. RecBCQ is back with $10, saying, I didn't bring this up in episode 1 since I didn't want to sour the mood, but I had some deaths in my life recently. Oh. My friend and great aunt died within a few weeks of each other. Good vibes, please. Well, RecBCQ, we're so sorry for your losses. Genuinely sorry. We love having you in this community, and we're just, we want nothing but the best for you. So certainly good vibes from all of us, and we're really sorry to hear about your losses. Let's see. Sonic and Mega Man 531 with $2 with a classic matchup here. Cuphead and Mugman versus Sans and Papyrus. You choose. Sans alone wins this.
Sans would.
That's what I've heard. I haven't played Undertale.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna I'm just gonna say Cuphead and Mugman because they're my homies. I know them.
Cool. I like Cuphead and Mugman, but Sans is so ridiculously OP that I feel like he alone would take this. He wouldn't even need Papyrus to help him. So that's right. And it sounds like you agree, Daniel?
Yeah. Unfortunately, Papyrus probably wouldn't accomplish very much compared to his brother Sans, but he can make a puzzle that Cuphead and Mugman eventually solve on accident, because that's how Papyrus puzzles work. But yeah, Sans would just obliterate with just his first move.
Yeah. As frequent positron in our patron chat says, they're going to have a bad time. Cuphead and Mugman are going to have a bad time. And yeah, they would. Hustlebun. I just have to say, Hustlebun, I love your icon here. Bunny link from A Link to the Past. It's so great. I love it. Hustlebun with $4.99 saying, Steve's haircut is fresh. Need your opinions on that bizarre Lonely Island directed Rescue Rangers movie. I found it disturbing, but I need to see it. Oh man, this is opening a whole can of worms. But
I have not seen the trailer. I have not seen.
Oh no, you have to see.
I will watch it during the post show because I have not been able to. Yeah, I can't play the audio right now, but
fair. Yeah, of course.
Fever dream.
I can't believe it got greenlit by Disney just because it seems very, as Brandon said, stoner adjacent. It's adjacent to a stoner movie, and I'm shocked that they would do that with Chip and Dale, but I might be here for it. We'll see what happens.
To be fair, I don't want to spoil anything, but has anyone here watched the season finale of Peacemaker?
No.
First off,
I've never even watched Peacemaker.
If you haven't watched Peacemaker, shame on you. You should go watch it. But it has a cameo in there in the very last episode that, again, I'm not going to talk too much about it, but if you know, and it is hilarious. Like it is another case of characters being used in a way that you would not think that the DC would allow you to use them. And so I strongly recommend you check it out.
All right.
Very cool. All right. I'll keep that in mind. All right, just a couple more before we move on to our patron topics. Howdy Folks Gaming with $4.99. Thank you. Saying howdy. Anytime a digital store shuts down, it's a sad day for future gamers who might never get to experience older titles stranded on abandoned systems. Perfectly eloquently stated. That couldn't have said it better myself. You're right. Homecoming Hero with $2. Thank you. Saying Rhythm Heaven Megamix and Rhythm Thief are musts. Yes, they are. Especially since we don't have a new Rhythm Heaven game yet for Switch. So, yeah, buy Rhythm Heaven Megamix before the 3DS eShop shuts down. And Rhythm Thief. They're both great games. And then finally, one more for now. Vile Pixel with $10 saying, just a long-time lurker from GX. Love you guys. Good vibes. Well, Vile Pixel, thank you so much for following us for so long, from the GX days all the way to here. And we're so happy to have you here in our community. So thank you very much. Okay, guys. We have some patron topics to discuss. As a reminder, our patrons at the producer tier and above get to submit questions and topics for us to discuss every week on the GVGcast. You can find out more about that at patreon.com/GVgaming. Each of us picks one topic. And Daniel, let's have you go first, man. Let's go ahead and talk about your topic first.
Oh, me first. Okay.
Yeah.
Let me pull it up really quick because
I can read it out if you want.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, I have it in front of me. So
here we go. From Ben Hannigan, my question is, are there any games that came out on a Nintendo handheld that you wish were released on a home console, or maybe even vice versa? Yes, indeed. One of the ones I think about all the time is a part of the Mario and Luigi series. Mario and Luigi Superstar Saga and Bowser's Inside Story. They got re-releases on the other DS, on the 3DS. And it's such a I'm so torn between this because there's so many Mario and Luigi games at this point that if you show me a screenshot of like any of them where Mario and Luigi are just running in a field, I probably wouldn't be able to tell you which one it is because like none of them at this point, they kind of all blend together. Nothing really stands out. If you put one of them like on a console, you have the fidelity to really make the art style look like something special, look like something unique. And so I think that would help make it stand out. And God, I can't believe that Bowser's Inside Story had like the most useless, needless like remake on the 3DS when you could already play the DS game on the 3DS. It's just a whole other thing I could complain about. But yeah, that's a Superstar Saga and Bowser's Inside Story. I wish we would get like a console release because those are really fantastic games, especially Superstar Saga because the original GBA, like that sprite, that artwork, that it looks timeless. It looks perfect as it is. Yeah. They're so expressive and emotive. But yeah, that
they did at least re-release Superstar Saga on the Wii U Virtual Console, so that kind of sort of counts maybe, but it's not what you're talking about. I know.
Yeah, for sure. But I guess aside from that, like a smaller example would be probably like Super Mario 64 DS. If that was done with all these extra bells and whistles on a console, that'd be really cool to see and to play it proper with different characters, more stars, all of that. So yeah, that's pretty much my take on that.
I have to say, Daniel, I am shocked, I tell you, that you did not take my choice.
You might be taking mine now. We'll see, Steve.
I feel like I know which 3DS title Ash is going to say because I didn't want to take that from him.
Oh, well,
thank you. I appreciate
I apologize
that. But
in
Steve
advance,
might.
Ash. Fire Emblem Awakening.
Oh,
okay. I'm good.
It's a different one.
So
yeah,
I mean,
I'm good. Okay.
I loved that game. I played loads of that game. Apparently, not enough to like crack my top 3, but it was one of my favorite games I played on the 3DS. But the thing that always bugged me was that of all the games I ever played on my 3DS, I felt like Awakening was the one that would benefit the most from like the increased horsepower of a console. Because I don't know about you guys, but the fact that they didn't have proper feet always really bugged me about that game.
They just had stubs until they learned their lesson.
Stubs at the like their legs just got cut off, and it drove me insane because I'm so wrapped up into this story and these characters, and especially when you're like trying to do romance options, I'm like, none of these people have feet. I would not marry a single one of them. But I loved that game, and I just wanted to see it like in full HD on my big screen, and I wanted to invest loads of hours into it. I offended Daniel so hard it killed his camera for a minute, but I just could not get enough of that game and that world and those characters, and I was like, this could be Nintendo's like Final Fantasy VII if it was just on a big screen and not on a portable.
I'm afraid of what would happen if Awakening wasn't on a system seller like the 3DS, because then that means it would probably have been on something like the Wii U, which wouldn't have saved the franchise at all. It would have,
well, no,
it would have killed the franchise.
They made the right choice, but I just selfishly wanted to see it. Like, I would take an Awakening remake on the Switch any day. Like, I would play the hell out of that.
Yeah, especially with how beautiful it looks in cutscenes. If they just make the game like that throughout the entire story, it would definitely have done very well on even today for a modern console for Switch. I would have loved to see something like that for sure, but I don't know. I guess I just have a lot of fond memories of it as being a 3DS game.
Sure,
but yeah.
Right. Well, those are both great choices, but mine, I was afraid one of you would take mine, but you didn't. I had a couple of backup ideas, like Bravely Default and Bravely Second and stuff, but no. My answer to this question is 3 words. Kid Icarus Uprising, baby.
Nice.
It's one of my favorite games of all time, and I think experiencing that game's cinematic quality on the big screen with headphones on and just taking in all that splendor,
I would take that game for a control scheme that doesn't give you arthritis the minute you start playing.
Right?
That too, yeah.
They give you a cradle to try and reduce the arthritis.
That speaks volumes to how much Nintendo loves Masahiro Sakurai. They're like, all right, design us a game. And he's like, listen, just hear me out. You need to package a special stand with this because you can't control it any other way. And they're like, fuck it, ship it, fine. Like, anyone else, they would have been like, fix the controls. Like, there's no need for this. And they're like, it's Sakurai, it's fine, people will buy it. And people did. I own it, but I remember playing it, and as a left-handed person, I felt like it was somebody just cursed my bones. I was like, I feel like my hand is literally about to snap and fall off.
I'm a fellow lefty, and I just ended up playing with button controls only. Not the best way to play, but it was certainly less painful than trying to use the stylus as a left-handed person. But that speaks to how unbelievably fantastic the game is, that I love it as much as I do, and it's as popular as it is despite those controls, because it really is such a singular special game, and it deserves that big screen experience with better controls. Give me dual stick controls. God, I wish it could happen. I don't think it ever will, but that's my answer. And I'll to take the opportunity to read this super chat out of order. Mighty Invincible came in with $4.99 saying, somebody better say Kid Icarus Uprising or I'm going to have a problem. Well, there you go. Yeah. Thank you for your donation, and I'm glad we were able to come through for you.
Yeah, and I do want to read one comment out of our YouTube chat real quick. Ditto M says, they didn't tell Miyamoto to fix Star Fox Zero's controls, and I do have a Steve story for that. So, back at E3, what was it, Ash? Probably 2016?
Yeah, I believe so.
They were doing demos for media and everybody of Star Fox Zero. And they let me play it, and I had a time with the demo. I played it. I had trouble, especially on the E3 show floor where every game is harder to play. I just could not wrap my head around Star Fox Zero. And I was very blunt. Like, the person that was proctoring the demo, if you will, came up to me and they said, "What do you think of the game?" And I was like, "It sucks." Like, I didn't hold back. I was like, "It's a bad game." And they're like, "Really?" And I was like, "Come on, you have to know. You have to know this is not a good game." And they were like, "No, we've heard nothing but good things." I was like, "Not anymore, you haven't. You can say you've heard some bad things." I was like, "I do not like this." I was like, "The control." And they're like, "Well, what don't you like about it?" And of course, they didn't actually care. But I was just like, I have to do this. I have to look down and up and down and up. I was like, I know you probably want me to hold it like this, but then your arms get tired. I was like, this game is like a proof of concept that the gamepad can do something, but it's not a good one. Like, it's objectively not a good one.
Right.
That was the same demo where they had us sit in the R-Wing, right?
Yeah.
And play it in the R-Wing. Yeah, I remember that.
Yep. And either way, the only thing I wanted out of that demo was the really cool Star Fox pin that they were giving people, and they didn't give me one. Probably because I said the game sucked. But so someone indirectly told Miyamoto the controls were not good. But
I wasn't quite as pointed in my criticism, but I do recall saying that I felt the controls were unwieldy and that I didn't like having to look back and forth between the gamepad and the TV. And they're like, "Oh, don't worry. It's like something like, PR, safe PR, like, oh, you get used to it. It's really immersive." And I'm like, "Yep, oh, okay, whatever."
Yeah, sure I do. Sure I do.
Yeah.
Let me know in 6 months how those sales work out for you.
Right. Oh, man.
Got 100 seller on your hands.
Steve, you also have a patron topic that you picked out for this week. You want to go ahead and talk about it?
Yes. My patron topic comes from our good friend and longtime executive producer, Titus Malvolio. He says, "I'm in talks with a buddy of mine to potentially start our own podcast, and I was wondering if you guys had any tips or advice you can think of on how to get started. Also, what do you personally think makes a great podcast that you'd want to listen to in your everyday life?" And that is thank you so much, by the way, for the suggestion.
Question.
I thought it was interesting considering we're on episode 2 of a new podcast. So clearly we have the experience to back this up. But so I think the first thing is, don't feel like you have to have it all figured out when you start. You definitely don't have to. Like, get out there and just start making something and let people tell you what they want. Like we clearly, if you're a patron at GVG, you know that we kind of throw things out to our audience behind the scenes quite often and let you guys know what we're thinking of doing. And then we incorporate suggestions that we feel would help out, and adjust as things go on. But the biggest hurdle to get over is just making your first episode, because the longer you talk about it, the less likely you are to do it. And the thing that you need to remember is your first episode doesn't need to be perfect, doesn't even need to be good. Like, just, you will find a groove that works for you, and an audience will come to you, as long as, you do have to do the obvious steps of promoting it, letting people know it exists. But folks will come to you and tell you what they'd like to see from you. And, you can work that in, but don't let yourself get too caught up on the planning. Just get out there, make it happen. Like, go back if you can and look at the very first episode of TNT. It looks terrible compared to what we do now.
Yeah, that's true.
We have advanced by leaps and bounds since then. So, yeah, just start it out. We didn't have a live audience chat. We didn't have an animated background. We didn't have a Daniel when we started. And so,
right.
Things grow and improve, but you got to start somewhere, and don't be afraid to let that start. Just be what you're capable of in that moment. I remember planning a podcast before I met Ash, before I was part of Game Explain, with just my friend Nick, who has now appeared on several of our streams. And I got so caught up in over-engineering the design of it that it just never happened. I commissioned art, and I bought microphones, and I thought about how we were going to, what we were going to do when we got 100 subscribers. And then we got none because I never started, because I got too in my head about all the details. I needed it to be perfect. So I've learned a lot from that, and I hope that is helpful advice to you. But thanks so much for the question.
Yeah, that's great advice, man. I mean, yeah, just do it. Instead of just talking about doing it, do it, because I completely co-sign on everything Steve said. And yeah, just don't bite off more than you can chew, because that also is a barrier to getting started. So, um, yeah, I mean, Steve already said pretty much everything I would have said. I actually used to have an old podcast. I think before the game, was it before the Game Explained days? I think, yeah, with a good buddy of mine called, we called it To Live in Game in LA, because it's amazing. Yeah, I can't believe it's bringing me back. But what we did it. We had the idea, and he came over, and we just did it. And I think we did about, I don't know how many episodes, but quite a few. And but it took us a while to get to that point where we just did it. And so I think that's the part of Steve's advice that I want to highlight the most, is just do it and figure out the details later. But once you've done it, it becomes easier to keep doing it. Go ahead, Daniel.
I think if you and your buddy have really good natural chemistry, and it comes across as what you're talking about, and people can feel that from if you're passionate about what you're talking about on the podcast, people will naturally be drawn more to it, and they'll be more invested in what you're talking about. I haven't done this for as long as these guys here, but just, me doing things like Good Vibes Arcade with Brandon, like we jive with each other very well. And it's a lot more natural to make a show like that, and to hopefully make it interesting. If it was me by myself, I don't know how long I'd last out there, but for sure, having people that you blend well with, that and that you feel like you can definitely have a good conversation with, that helps get you off to a pretty good start, I think, and people will kind of guide you from there, like what they want to see from you guys with your unique personalities. So yeah.
Yeah. A lot of my favorite things that I like to watch, I like it because of the camaraderie between the people doing it. Like, I love watching Easy Allies, for example, because and Kind of Funny Games and such, because of, you can feel the love and the energy and the friendship between all of them on those crews. And so I would say just make sure that whichever friend you're doing it with, you feel like you have that really strong rapport, that strong camaraderie, because that's what pulls, I think, a lot of people into podcasts, certainly myself. Okay. Time for my topic. And this one comes from Killamox. And now this is a video game music topic, but I want to make it clear that doesn't mean I'm an easy mark every time for a video game music topic. I wanted to pick this one specifically because I love character themes, but I'm not always going to pick a music related topic. But this week I picked Killamox's topic, asking favorite theme associated with a character, such as Tifa's theme from FF7, Zero's theme from the Mega Man X series, or even boss themes used for a character. And I have, a few answers I could say for this, like Sid's theme from FF7, one of my favorites, Terra's theme from FF6, Sora's theme from Kingdom Hearts. But my very favorite is actually something you kind of mentioned in your own question, from the Mega Man X series, but it's not Zero's theme. It's X's theme from X4, which you can hear in the Sky Lagoon stage, the opening stage for X. That to me is just perfectly exemplary of his character, who he is, what he's all about. It's just a great hero theme, and you hear it used in leitmotif throughout the rest of the game, in some of the cutscenes and such. But yeah, I love character themes, and my favorite one ever is probably X's theme from Mega Man X4. But I could talk forever about video game music and character themes. But what about you guys? Do you have a few in mind?
Here's one that might throw you for a loop. One of my favorite themes associated with a character would probably be Gruntilda's theme from Banjo-Kazooie.
Oh, that's a great one.
It's just so infused with the entire journey of Banjo-Kazooie. She's such a great villain in that way, just taunting you all the way up there. And you hear so many variations of this theme all the way leading up to it. I don't know very many games where, like, I think of the villain's theme more than the actual main theme of the game. Because it's just something it carries you all the way throughout the game, literally, and it carries this, like, it's so goofy, but when you finally get to the final battle and you hear that theme, and like you hear like the full, good. It's so like thematic. It's like the full force of the theme, and it just kind of culminates into everything that you've learned throughout the journey, and it's just so good. And I guess besides that, probably Frog's theme from Chrono Trigger. It's just so it's so triumphant and noble. Like, whenever it plays, I start to feel good just listening to it. Yeah, I love that theme so much.
Magus's theme from Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
I love you, Daniel, for picking Frog's theme because that was one of my 2 choices. That is such a damn good song. But the other one is also from Chrono Trigger, and it's Robo's theme.
Right.
So
Robo's
good.
theme
good themes.
is so damn good. And I always think, like, I love Robo the character. Like, he's one of my favorite characters, just this noble little robot. But the other, like, it appeals to both sides of my soul, the duality of man, if you will. Because on one hand, it is just an excellent song for an excellent character in an excellent game. On the other hand, though, it is also basically Rickroll. Like,
right. I love how you can play it over and like it matches up perfectly. It's hilarious.
Yeah. So I love it for both of those reasons. But yeah, that is probably my favorite. Like, Frog's theme and Robo's theme are essentially a tie for me in my head of like the 2 best character themes of all time. I just and Daniel nailed it with why I like Frog's theme. Like, it is just kind of this upbeat, triumphant song. Like, it speaks to the nobility and heroism of Frog as a character. I think Glenn, right?
Glenn,
real name,
Always God, that's such a good one. And I was like, as I mentioned before, Magus's theme. I still remember the first time I heard that when you fight Magus, and I was just like, this is so good. No, I mean, Chrono Trigger is just a litany of amazing music. So also got some great suggestions in chat here. Crimson King 12,000 says theme of Simon Belmont from Super Castlevania 4. That one's great. Elena's theme from Street Fighter 3 beats in my head. That one's also good. I mean, there's so many. And Daniel, I'm glad you brought up Gruntilda because, as I mentioned, the use of leitmotif is one of my favorite things in video game music. And I like when you hear that theme or a theme that you've heard throughout the game be used in a different way in an epic context, and it just brings it all together. One of my favorite examples of that is how you can hear Sora's theme woven into the battle themes for Vanitas in Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep. And if you know the connection between those characters, it just makes it that much more epic. And that's something that video game music does so well. And anyway, I'm not going to nerd about this forever because we do have to go ahead and get to our Patreon exclusive post show. But thank you, everyone, for submitting topics. Once again, I apologize that we can't get to everyone's, but we are doing our best to make sure we pick different people every week to make sure nobody feels left out. So keep submitting those topics each week. We see you and we love you. And thank you for being understanding that we can't pick everyone. So thank you. That brings us to the end of episode 2 of the GVGcast. Thank you so much for hanging out with us, everybody. That was a lot of fun. This show is super fun to do in a completely different way from today's News Tonight. So this is great. We love you all. And thank you for hanging out in our YouTube audience as well. And actually, that reminds me, we do have a couple of more super chats that I should read out before we're done. 1 second. I'm just pulling those up out right now. I already read out Mighty Invincibles. Juan with $2 Canadian. Thank you so much. Saying Top Dog beat Metroid Dread. Top Dog, our beloved community member, beat Metroid Dread. Congratulations. That's so cool. Awesome. That's not an easy game either. So, yeah, props to you, Top Dog, for beating Metroid Dread. Not an easy game to conquer. Luis Benitez with $5. No message, just a donation. Thank you, Luis. Thank you very much. Titus Malvolio with $10 saying, thanks, guys. Really appreciate you choosing my topic here. Well, it was our pleasure. Thank you for being a patron and submitting your topic. We really appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then finally, last super chat of the episode, Nintendo Academy. I love your icon, by the way, with $10 with just a smiley face, a big toothy grin. So thank you for that, Nintendo Academy. We really appreciate that. And that now brings us to the true end of episode 2 of the GVGcast. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, we do have to give a special thank you to all of our patrons at the producer tier and above for helping to make everything we do happen, because without you, we couldn't do what we do with all of you. So thank you so much. But we also have to give an extra special thank you to all of our patrons at the executive producer tier and above. And those fine, wonderful, amazing, stupendous folks include Brandon Bovia, Rob Arman X, Fangs, Dan and Twistle, Z Patty, Hyrule Hermit, Sky Blue Flames, Eastman 23, Adam O'Sullivan, Richard Herrera, Michael Phone, Logan Daniel, The D-Pad, Vesmio, Waffle King, Birche 373, Critter XD, Kitty Kong Fax, Angel Martinez, Vedran Hotik, Diogo RP, Joshua Hunter, Benny Yao, Sapphire, Azran 127, Black King, Pagrima, Geller, Joseph Rutkin, Titus Malvolio, Geeky Griffin, Lucky Wonderfish, Kyle, Top Dog 23100, Youngbin Kenobi, Doug Shomix, Andrew Medeiros, Becca, Rocks the Cat, Killamox, Eddie B, Kai Ed, Kit Fisto, Kenneth Lee Stingle, Jessica Toad, Deaneth, Sci-Fi Lullabies, Michael McCaw, Niminator, Matthew Wong, Goron Amber, Straight Lace, Justin Matthews, Hoobie, Too Much Spaghetti, Mega Conrad, Ascaron 809, Ryaner, Captain Finlandia, Nathan Steele, Spicy Pand Otter, The Game Orb, Dano the Artist, Super Gamer Dude 101, Grantles, Ravelox, Synchrolord, Rosa Pardo Bowling.
Hi, Mom.
Kane Woolley, Skull Kid Tiger, HAB Cool, Dark Steel 01, Jason Uloa, Jaden Buck, Phantom Project, Cystic Warrior 29, DJ Jurassic, Super Dank Awesome Unicorn Guy, Dinner Sonic, Darik, Jeff Ed, Blaze-Star 25, Stag Nasty, Mumbling Yeti, Cameron Sharp, Screamo Shaman, Mason Riley, Heel, Willow Pingree, Santi the Person, Brendan Hesse, Hustlebun, Noah Fitterer, Calvin Atkinson, Ryan's Fault, Brainchild, Pat Pending, Jim Wakelin, Lauren Bond, and last but certainly not least, Sridhar Ayala. Thank you so much, everybody. That list just keeps on getting bigger, and I love reading it out every week. Thank you all so much. If you want to find out more about how you can get on that list, as well as experience all the other perks we offer to our patrons, head on over to patreon.com/gvgaming. But that's it from us today. We're about to head into the patron-exclusive post-show. We will see you next week. Have a great weekend, everybody. Take care of yourselves, take care of each other, and stay safe. We love you, and we'll see you later. Good night, and good vibes. Bye.
Till we meet again.